Live from New York.
That was the week that was.
In England, of course, Lord Hume was in bed with flu, or, if you prefer it, Lord Home was in bed with Flo.
At what age did you know that you were a star?
2.
My parents were not fond of me. And I've always felt it was because of my religious beliefs.
You did Popeye once?
Come on. Now, David, you're not.
You did.
But you know how old I was? I was in the 3rd grade. I was 8 years old.
Were you?
Yes.
I don't remember what you did.
I've seen you work, David. I've seen you work. I've seen you work. I know what you're doing. You're a bad man, David.
It was, I'm Popeye the Sailor Man, I'm Popeye the Sailor.
I've never done that in 35 years.
Senator Kennedy.
What would you like the first line of a history book about Robert Kennedy to say?
I think, again, back to what Camus wrote about the fact that perhaps this world is a world in which children suffer, but we can lessen the number of suffering children. And if you do not do this, then who will do this?
So what, in a sense, you're saying is that there are certain situations, and the Houston Plan, or that part of it was one of them, where the president can decide that it's in the best interest of the nation or something, and do something illegal.
Well, when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal.
By definition.
Exactly.
Listen, David, when I meet this man, if you think the world was surprised when Nixon resigned, wait till I whip Foreman's behind.
What would you like, David?
I'd like a demonstration. Well, in fact, show me.
You realize that I'm carrying General Electric around under my back. We're wired, you know. I thought we were going to the moon for a while. You know we're spending $4 billion just to get pictures of the moon? Did you know that? We could stand on the money and see the moon.
Prime Minister, you said that in '83, and the ministers knew in November '82.
Do you think, Mr. Frost?
That was incorrect. What you said.
Do you think, Mr. Frost, that I spend my days prowling round the pigeonholes of the Ministry of Defence to look at the chart of each and every ship? If you do, you must be bonkers.
When was it, Mr. President, you realized that the Cold War was really over?
As I look back on it, I think it may have been when these young people broke through to freedom.
And I'll tell you, you see, the day we executed the air campaign, I said, we got you.
Freedom is not America's gift to the world or Great Britain's gift to the world. Freedom is the Almighty's gift to everybody who lives in the world.
Has that terrible assassination attempt affected your decision to carry on with this battle?
No, it's that horrific incident in which 158 innocent young men, a woman, a baby lost their lives has just made me more determined to continue.
How do your children feel about this? They're old enough now to know the risks you've got to take.
They're coping, but obviously they worry. They do want me to continue, though. They understand that I'm doing this for their country and for all the people of Pakistan.
And she made the supreme sacrifice, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
She knew that, though.
She knew that, and she spoke about it all the time. You know that, and I know that she had this thought in the back of her mind that they will assassinate me.
And you must miss her every day.
Every moment, every second.
It's still amazing, in a way, to most people, how you got through 28 years and came out of it without being bitter.
Well, I would like to be bitter, but I have no time to be bitter. There is work to be done.
And then I blurted it out. And I said, I'm sorry. I just hope I haven't let you down. Well, when I said, I just hope I haven't let you down, that said it all. I had.
I've always thought of you as an optimist.
David, I've never been an optimist. I am a prisoner of hope.
To David, a box of smile.
We give him a lot of gear, he throws it away after. You'll regret it. Still looking for his Picassos. Get it?
It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
It is my honor to present this honor with admiration and deep affection to my dear friend, Sir David Frost.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. And thanks above all to... This doesn't fit with this microphone, does it? That's perfect there. It won't fall, will it? No. First of all, to say thank you to Barbara for those incredibly generous words. And you know, Barbara, ever since we first met, and as long as you live, you will always be to me and to us the First Lady of television, Barbara Walters. And what a marvellous introduction compared to one I had the other day at the Dorchester Hotel in London, where they didn't have anyone like Barbara to introduce you, but they did have a Toastmaster in scarlet livery who was supposed to tap his gavel and say, "Pray silence for Sir David Frost." And I don't know whether he was nervous or what, but instead he tapped his gavel on the table and said, "Pray for the silence of Sir David Frost." He obviously knew what he was talking about, but we all make mistakes, and I collect them too, because there are a lot in the media. I remember in the early days of TVM, a company in England, we sent a young guy on his first assignment to the Holy Land, and he filed a report that began, "Welcome to Israel, a Mecca for tourists." And I had, in fact, a very angry trades union shop steward on a program, and he said, "David, there have been certain allegations made against me, and I intend to find out who the alligator is." And our local paper down in Hampshire had the best classified ad that I've ever seen recently, which was one that said, "Unused tombstone for sale, would suit family called Nesbitt." I wonder what had happened to the Nesbitts. But seeing those clips brought back many memories. I remember when that was the week that was started in England, and the first week had 2.5 million at 10:30 at night, and then 5 and 7 and 9 and 11, and I felt I could finally afford to go into what's thought of as the top man's store, Harrods. I could finally afford it, so I went in there and I was buying something, and I was writing out the check, and the guy behind the counter said, "You know, Mr. Frost, we never miss your show." And I said, "Thank you very much." Carried on writing. He said, "No, if we're out, we make sure we get home by 10:25 in the evening, so we're ready in front of the set at 10:30. I said, "Thank you very much indeed." And he said, "And if we're at home, what we do is we make sure we've done all the washing up and laid the table for breakfast by 10:25, so we're there in front of the set for the program." I said, "Thank you very much." Handed him the check, and he said, "Do you have any means of identification?" Of course, those were very different days back then. I mean, in those days, digital television just meant switching on the set with your finger. And if you had a 3.5-inch floppy, that was something you kept very quiet about. And a church outing meant the whole congregation and not just the priest. And safe sex just meant that her parents were out for the evening. But lots of moments come back in memories at times like this. I remember one patriotic senator saying, "Where would this country be without this great land of ours?" But without the future, there can be no tomorrow. Words to live by. There was Evel Knievel saying, "I thank God," as he stood by this sort of cardboard rocket that was alongside to go across the Snake River Canyon. He said, "I thank God that in America, a man has the freedom to do what I'm about to do," he said. "I would rather be smashed against the wall of that canyon over there than to lose my life in a pointless accident." I asked Richard Burton, "What is your definition of love?" And he said, "Love is staying awake all night with a sick child or a very healthy adult." I'd like to thank all the broadcasters whom I've had the pleasure of working with through the years, from the BBC in 1962 to Al Jazeera English in 2009. And I'm delighted that the managing director of Al Jazeera English, Tony Bowman, could be with us tonight. Thank you for being here, Tony. And looking there at Margaret Thatcher reminded me, watching her, of Dennis Thatcher, one of the people who I'm most sorry. I'm sure Barbara gets asked this question, who do you wish you'd interviewed and so on. And Dennis Thatcher never gave a single interview, was a great consort, never gave a speech, never uttered in public. And there was one occasion I remember, he was very keen on golf, and I met him one evening. He said, "Well, at least I hit 2 good balls today. I trod on a rake." But this was an occasion, an American occasion at the White House. Margaret Thatcher was being awarded the Congressional Medal of Freedom, and after that had been done, there was a dinner in the private quarters, and there was about 80 or 90 people there. And first of all, President George Bush spoke and introduced Margaret Thatcher, and then Margaret Thatcher spoke. And then Barbara Bush stood up and spoke and introduced Dennis Thatcher. Well, all the English people in the room were going, "What's going to happen now?" He never. And there was a pause, and then he stood up and he said, "As Julius Caesar said as he entered Cleopatra's tent, I haven't come here to talk." Thank you so much for this. I remember a quote of Ed Murrow, who said, "This instrument, television, it can entertain, it can inform, and it can even inspire. But it all depends on the will of the humans who operate it." That's our challenge, I guess. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.